Right. I guess we're at it again. I just finished a session talking about Vibe Agile and stuff, but I'm gonna work on my Home Depot scraper, and I figured I'd record it. So there's a different stack, different kind of thing. I'm gonna complain a little bit um, about what am I gonna? Oh, about cursor. So let me get cursor up. Close out some of these things. So I'm going to complain a little bit about Cursor. Cursor has this weird Cursor for 20 bucks. Cursor is quite amazing. 20 bucks a month, and I've compared. Root code has you put in your API keys. It's open source. It's all on me. It's my dime. And I plugged in my OpenAI API keys and set it up with 4.0, and I put in my Anthropic API keys and set it on Claude 3.7. And then I put in my Google API keys and set it to, what is it, the new 2.5. Um, and Gemini 2.5. Um, and Gemini's kind of, I guess, free, gets rate limited a bit. So if you do autocode, it's too fast. But anyway, he uses it pretty fast. I was working in Cursor on the Vibe Agile project. I mean, I created my own nightmares by just vibe coding loosely, but I got stuck doing some stuff. And I actually was doing two things at once. I was working on Vibe Agile, and then I heard that Gemini 2.5 is good at coding, so I went into the Google API Playground, which I think I probably have open somewhere still. Um, but I have no idea what's going to open here, but let's see. Oh, yeah, Home Depot. So I was working on, yeah, hey, thanks for your help. I'm moving this to Cursor. So going to use Gemini 2.5, it'll do it with the ability to read and write files and use tools. So I had a long, oh, and it's too many. I've over a million tokens. I had a really long session, and it was writing a single Python script, and I was just copying and pasting it into VS Code over and over again, and had just a really long session. Just decided what it is that I found out on the Home Depot site that they have some special sales that are you can't search for them, and it'll tell me when my local Home Depot's having a clearance sale. And usually I see those kind of things on like a forum. And they're not all over the same place. And sometimes you might have like two local stores that do it and others that don't. But I like to go buy tools. I've got a house I'm remodeling and stuff, so I like to get tools, like to have the right tool for the job. And if I've trust Rabbit tools, I've liked them because they haven't broken on me. And when I had my very first house, my parents bought me a set of Ryobi tools that had nickel cadmium batteries, and they still work with the new batteries, and they still work now. I'm using the old blue ones. Um, so I'm trying to look for deals, and I decided I'm going to just use it in code. I asked what language you want to use, and I said let's use Python. And so I was just trying to learn about Gemini 2.5 Pro, experimental, blah 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 blah. And it was good. And then I decided to move it over to Cursor, and I was working on it as a separate project. Actually, no, I had two Cursor windows open. I had one with Vibe Agile open, and I had one with. I took the script and put it in there, and the requirements and a couple other things, and I set it to point at Gemini 2.5, and I started working in Cursor, and I found weird things happening, like if I changed the model, which I don't want to accidentally use this. I'm going to turn these off. I'm going to use Sonnet without thinking. Which this is using Cursor's dime, by the way. But when I had two Cursor windows open and was working on two projects at the same time, I would change one model and it would change it in the other window if I was using the same agent. Like it just was not. It's not wired to have person using two windows at the same time, and I'm sure they wouldn't encourage it because Cursor I'm paying $20 and it's making API calls on two projects at the same time. It probably doesn't like that very much, but anyway, it is what it is. But it also, something weird happens with me with Cursor is like sometimes it just stops working. I decided to pay for it once I blew through my tokens building Vibe Agile real quick. My monthly allowance, I didn't know what I was doing, and I just was just having to build all kinds of random shit, and I blew through them real quick. Um, but then when something weird would happen, like Cursor every once in a while would get an update and it would just get dumb. It was like it got like a traumatic brain injury or something. Like it was just not operating super well. No offense to anybody who's had a traumatic brain injury, but it can affect your cognitive abilities, and that's what it seemed like. It seemed like Cursor just lost cognitive abilities, and it wouldn't matter if I would change between, it would go between, between Claude 3.7 or 4.0 or I haven't used DeepSeek yet, and I don't really use Grok too much, but I'll have to check it out a little bit. But anyway, it would just really be like it would just start breaking things and doing dumb things and wrecking the code base in some ways, and I'd have to revert, and sometimes I'd revert somewhere that wasn't awesome, and it was a ton of troubleshooting and a huge pain, and it felt like I was like absolutely not moving forward. So I was like, forget it. I'm gonna just turn off Cursor. And I had heard good things about RooCode, which is a plugin here in VS Code. It's kind of funny. It's on the left side. Actually was doing this for a while. I would have RooCode over here, and then I would pull in Cursor and hit this, hit the right thing, and I would have both in there, and actually I would overlap them a little bit. So if I was working in this, I could kind of watch the logs in the console move along a little bit like that, and then I would drag this over a little bit here, maybe hide the files or whatever. No, yeah, but I would kind of bounce between these and be working on the Python project here, be working on the Vibe Agile on this side. But right now I'm just going to work on the Home Depot app. And it's if I'm not, again, I don't plan on releasing it. So let's go back here because it's fun to watch. Selenium can run. I think we're running headless at this point though, so maybe it's not worth it. But I took and I started building out an app. I took the code from Google AI Studio. I put it in. I started working on it in Roo. I have not set up the rules and things as well as I should. I probably shouldn't be doing any coding without having very strict rules because it just gets stupid. But what I've done instead is I decided to keep it super focused. At first I wasn't. I built all sorts of stupid shit. And then what I ended up doing is I made these simple scripts because I found it was breaking things. And when I added a web UI to it, it started going off and breaking things terribly. It would work for a while and then I'd have to troubleshoot a bunch. And then it would break functionality and not be able to get it working again. So what I did is I said, okay, I want to write a simple script, a simple scraper, and all it would do is it would take the default store. When you'd open up the window, it wouldn't have to search for a store. It would take the default store and open it up, and then it would go through and search for all the sale items and sort of scrape the data off. And it would go through multiple pages the way that the store would list it and do some other things. So I got some basic functionality in a single Python script. And then I decided to add, again, the Selenium script. The second one, I just took it, I made a copy of it, or I told it to make a copy and call it number 2. And then it was searching for a zip code, and then it could choose a store. It would choose a store based on a single store based on the zip code. So it's again kind of like iterative development. I'd get one thing working, then I'd add some functionality to it, and I'd kind of just sort of cut it with the script number one. I could do that through Git, I know, but whatever. I decided to just keep it separate because um, sometimes the AI agents get confused and I don't want to have to push it to a commit. I just push it to a number script. I could say script number one and it knew what I was talking about. So we did script number two and we got that working. And when that was done, I said, let's make script number three, which means not only does it search and then pick the first star, it actually